Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. This month our creative design team has created a new video collab for you with the theme Back to School. Some of us are going to have cards, others are going to have layouts. Either way, you're going to be inspired by this back to school theme. Today I'm going to be creating a layout of my daughter's first day of school. I'm going to be using the paper pack called As You Grow. If you take a look inside our catalog, you're going to notice that the stickers and the pocket cards are baby themed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these papers need to be used for baby photos. The patterns and colors in this paper pack match all of the elements in my daughter's photo really well, and that's why I chose to use these paper patterns. Now let me show you how this layout's going to come together. I've already gone ahead and gutted out the center of that beautiful blue gingham paper. I've also trimmed it down just a little bit so that I have a nice white daisy frame around the edges. Creating that white frame is going to help to draw your eyes to the photo. It's also going to prevent the background from looking a little bit too busy with all of those gingham checks. In the center of the layout, I'm going to be laying down a piece of Harbor cardstock. This is one of our new colors and it matches my daughter's dress perfectly. Now our cardstock does have a lighter side and a darker side. So here I'm trying to decide which color I want to use, and I think I've decided to use the darker shade. Atop that Harbor cardstock, I'm going to be adding a piece of charcoal patterned paper. This has a little bit of a wood grain to it, and it's part of that As You Grow collection. Off camera, I added some stitching around the edge of that Harbor cardstock, and I've grabbed the pocket cards from this collection. Now, some are baby themed, but there were a few that match my daughter's photo. This card picks up some of the florals and colors in my daughter's shirt. This second card has a beautiful green tone, which matches the leaves on the first card, and it has some stitching patterns on it that I like. And then this third card is going to marry the two cards together with its colors and patterns, and it's also going to match the background paper that I chose. Now, I almost always buy the coordinating pocket card pack. Even though a few of these cards do have a baby theme, the opposite side does have a beautiful pattern. Adding the pocket cards to my collection expands my color palette and my paper patterns, and I know they're going to coordinate with that paper pack. These also make great photo backgrounds and card fronts, and they also give the look of layered pattern paper, which is exactly what I'm doing right here on my layout. Now that I've got the bare bones of my layout chosen, I'm going to add a sticker border across the top. I'm going to use my paper trimmer to trim it down to the size that I need, and then I'm going to tear the edges of this lace border. Now, I ended up really struggling to tear this sticker. I finally had to get my scissors and start the tear. That just tells you how well made these stickers are. They're actually about as thick as die cuts, so they hold up really well whenever you're layering them onto a page. Once I did finally get both ends of this lace border torn, I ended up placing it across the top of that small square. Before I place down those pocket cards on the page, I'm going to trim off the portions that are going to be hidden because I can use these pieces later on another project. I've gone ahead and backed my photo in that Harbor cardstock, and now I'm going to start layering it on top of each one of these pocket cards. Now at this point I realized something just wasn't working, and it was that white stitching around that Harbor cardstock. So I went ahead and took off that Harbor cardstock and replaced it with another piece that didn't have the stitching. I know that you guys have all been here. You get all of the items laid down on your scrapbook page and you just can't figure out what isn't working. And for me, it was that white stitching. So now that I have replaced that Harbor cardstock, I'm going to go ahead and finish laying down all of those layered pocket cards. After layering the pocket cards I'd chosen, I decided to bring in some more of that beautiful peach and pink tones to match the other pocket card and some of the shades in my daughter's shirt. It also has a purple strip in it, which happens to match her backpack. So I've gone ahead and cut a little chevron into this plaid pattern strip, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down across the page. Since she is carrying a fun little backpack, I decided to create a die cut of a backpack. This is a free cut file on Scrapbook and Cards Today, designed by Paige Evans. At the very end of the video, I'll show you how I added all of these cute patterned papers in Cricut Design Space to this cut file, and I'll also provide you with a link so that you can download one of these files for your own scrapbook page. After adding that backpack, I decided to tackle the title, and I found these little thicker stickers. They were in a freebie giveaway bin at a retreat I was at, and there's this little noted banner. It's shaded in a shortbread color, which matches other elements on my page, and it has this fun little floral strip across the top, and it's going to match some other florals I add. I'm going to back it with some linen cardstock. That's the same cardstock that I cut the backpack out of, so that that word noted shows up a little bit better once it's layered on top of that patterned paper. Now I'm going to start adding some more florals to the page. Since I've already added a couple of other floral elements, I decided to use all of the flowers that are on that As You Grow sticker sheet. So here I'm just placing them into my glitter tray, and then I'm going to use my anti-static pouch to remove some of the stickiness from the back. This is going to give me a little bit more freedom with placement without committing to where they're being put on the page. I've laid down some lined pattern paper. This is where I'm going to be putting my journaling. For right now, it's not glued down, but it is placed there to help me as I create all of my clusters on the page with these beautiful flowers that I've taken off of that sticker sheet. I've also grabbed some other die cuts from my collection. These are in the same shades and colors and fonts as other elements on the page. And I'm just starting to form visual triangles as I start adding these elements onto my layout. So here's where you're going to giggle at me. I picked a little purple flower to place onto that backpack die cut because it was matching the purple backpack that she is wearing. And I took a look at the photo and went, look, there's a little flower on her backpack and it matches all of the other flowers on the page. And then I realized that it was a flower sticker that I ended up dropping as I was trying to get myself organized for the video. So in reality, I wasn't really matching anything to the photo. I was just losing things all over my craft desk. Welcome to real life. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the layout. As I create these floral clusters, I'm trying to form a visual triangle between the different colors of flowers, and I'm also trying to create a diagonal to lead your eye across the page. Visual triangles and diagonal shapes help to create balance, and they also lead your eyes across the layout. Since this was my daughter's first day, I decided to use that little tag that says first day, but it is rather small. So I'm trying to use some different wooden arrows in my collection to try to draw your eye to that tiny little title. It was at this point that I realized that I had some little chevron shapes on that sticker sheet and it matches the other elements on the page. So I'm going to place a couple of those chevron shapes pointing to the words first day, and then I'm also going to use a couple of those chevron shapes that are going to be pointing to the journaling. Now this is going to point out to people what I think is most important on the layout, the title that says first day and the story that you need to read. So after I've dry fit all the items onto the page, I've gone and grabbed my thin and thick 3D foam tape so that I can layer them into all of those clusters onto the layout. As I was straightening up the chevrons, I realized that I had an even number of chevrons, and I like to have an odd number of items. So I went ahead and added a third chevron above the title and got rid of the wooden arrow. Above the photo, I have a cluster of flowers, and I decided to add a sticker from that sticker sheet that says grow. Our daughter has done so much growing in the last 5 years, and we are so proud of her for all that she has done. To emphasize the title even more, I added a little cluster of flowers next to it. Now at this point I realized that that banner that says "So Awesome" wasn't quite working out for the layout. So as I remove the banner, you can see that it does clean up the layout. When I add it again, you almost lose focus. You can't quite figure out which title you are supposed to read. So I've gone ahead and I've just removed that awesome banner, and I think this layout is almost complete. Off camera, I added a little bit of stitching for texture, and I went ahead and printed out my journaling on that lined notebook patterned paper. This is going to be tucked underneath the photo, and I'm going to be placing a little tab next to it that I cut out of the same pattern paper using our tags and tabs thin cut dies. The last little addition to this layout are some purple acrylic dots. I chose the color purple because it matches the color of my daughter's backpack, and it also is going to create a nice visual triangle between the photos and those other flowers on the page. All right, so here is that completed layout using the As You Grow collection, along with some other items such as that little die cut image that I created using a cut file from Scrapbook and Cards Today. Here's a close-up at a few of those details I added, like some of the stitching. I also added some around that little photo frame, and I added some stitching along the edge of the tab. If you would like to learn how I made this little backpack, there'll be a quick Cricut tutorial at the end of this video, and I'll also put a link to the cut file down in the description below so that you can make one of your own. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope that you learned a few new things that you plan on trying on your next scrapbook layout. Like I said, there's going to be a little Cricut tutorial at the end of the video, but before we get there, I want to remind you that Jayma's video will be posted tomorrow, so make sure that you check back here so that you can watch her back to school videos, and don't forget to check out all of the other creative design team members. They have some wonderful back to school projects for you. All right, we're going to go ahead and head into that Design Space tutorial. All right, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to show you how I uploaded that cut file from Scrapbook and Cards Today, and how I manipulated it to be able to add the different colors of patterned papers. Now, I did put a link to Paige Evans' file down in the description below. You will need to download that file. You will need to unzip or extract the file before you can upload it. If you're not quite sure how to do that, I do have a couple of videos on my Cricut tutorial playlist that you can check out so that you can learn how to download and extract your file. All right, we're going to go ahead and go into Upload. I'm going to choose Upload Image and Browse, and then I'm going to go into that cut file that I extracted, and I'm going to be grabbing the one that says Microsoft Edge because that's what shows up as an SVG on my Windows. Now each one is a little bit different, but you want to just make sure that you grab the SVG image for Cricut Design Space. You can go ahead and title it whatever you would like to title it, and the tags are keywords that you are going to search for, because once this image goes into Cricut Design Space, it will go into your image library, and you are going to use these tags to search for this image later on. Now, I like to put where I got it from, just in case I need to go back to that website and get some inspiration later. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit Upload, and then I'm going to grab the image and insert it into my canvas. Now, if you have a really detailed cut file, you're going to want to make a couple of changes to it because we're going to be filling in each one of these little cuts with different colors of patterned paper. And if your backpack is super small, you're going to have a lot of tiny, tiny cuts that cut out on your Cricut. So you might need to fill in a few of these, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate my backpack, and I'm going to change it to the first color of pattern paper. And I'm going to choose red because I'm going to fill in the apple and a couple of other items. I'm going to go down into the lower right-hand corner and hit contour. I'm going to hide all contours, and I'm just going to click on the images that I want to be red. So there's the little apple. I'm going to do this little piece of the book, and then I'm going to go ahead and color in one of the crayons. Now, remember how I said some of these are really super tiny pieces. So if you want to just fill them in later, we'll talk to you in a minute how to do that. Now, the other image I want to get rid of is that entire backpack outline. So I'm just going to click on that top image. Anything that is dark gray is going to be red. It looks like I have an extra piece here, so I need to get rid of it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and exit out. And now I have those pieces that are going to be cut out of red patterned paper. Let's go ahead and duplicate this again, and we're going to fill in some of the yellow items. So again, I'm going to change the color to yellow, and then I'm going to go down to the lower right-hand corner and select contour. I'm going to hide all contours, and then I'm just going to select the images that I want to be yellow. So we have this little strip here, and then we have these little pencil pieces that I want to be yellow. Now, if you're having a hard time selecting them, you can zoom in and click on them, or you can go over to the image list. All of the contours over here are listed, and you can actually just click on those. So there's that little pencil piece that I want to select. And again, I want to go all the way to the top, and I want to get rid of that entire backpack silhouette. And then I'm just going to exit out. So here are all of my yellow pieces. So now let's talk about what if we want to fill in some pieces. We don't want maybe some of these little ruler pieces to be cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the main image. I can click on it here on the canvas, or I can click on the image here in the layers panel. I'm going to go down to contour, and then I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just to make it easier for me to see. And then I'm going to click on each one of those ruler pieces. Now, depending on how big your image is, these might not be very small cuts. You might be able to fill them in with patterned paper. But if you made a backpack the size of mine, you might want to fill in those smaller cuts just to make your life a little bit easier. I'm also going to fill in the little stem of the apple, and I'm going to fill in the tips of the crayons. I'm going to go ahead and exit out. And now you can see all of those images are filled in. Now, what if you wanted to create a silhouette to fill in the majority of the backpack? We're going to go ahead and duplicate that backpack image. I'm going to go down into contour again. I'm going to select hide all contours. And the only image that's left is the backpack silhouette. And that is going to fill in our entire backpack for us. So let me go ahead and exit out. And you can see now we have an entire silhouette of the backpack. Let me go ahead and send it to the back. I'm going to change the color. And you can see that it's going to fill in that entire backpack. Now there's a couple of these images we probably want to contour out, like right here next to the apple and over here next to the little strap. So we can go ahead and go back to contour, and we can go ahead and take out those two images. And now we have a nice little fill in for our backpack. So that is how I created all the little cut patterned pieces to fill in my backpack. Like I said, Depending on how big or how small you make this backpack, some of those images might need filled in completely, or you may just want to use small little bits of patterned paper here and there to accent it, but you might not want to cut out a bunch of tiny pieces of patterned paper unless you enjoy paper piecing little detailed items like this. If you enjoyed this Cricut tutorial, I would encourage you to join my Cricut classroom. Each week, I teach an hour-long class online to those who want to learn more about their Cricut. I've also added a link to my Cricut tutorial list so that you can view more of my Cricut videos. Go ahead and click that subscribe button while you're at it so that you don't miss out on any future tutorials. I hope you have a wonderful week. I can't wait to see what you create.